No, you all had a scheduled expiration of Obamacare subsidies, and you did not extend that when you were in charge. 5.1 million, 1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid.
All right,
and there are work requirements. And our goal is to get more money to children and mothers.
Really? Your goal is to get more money to children, and working people, really. Yale University and University of Pennsylvania estimated that when you throw that many low-income and working-class people off of health care, some 50,000 people a year will die. Tell me why you think it's a good idea to give tax breaks to billionaires and allow 50,000 low-income and working-class people to die unnecessarily?
Senator, first of all, that's overstated by 5.1 million.
Scott Bessent challenges Senator Bernie Sanders in a tense Senate hearing, focusing on disagreements over tax policy and health care. Watch as the Treasury Secretary nominee responds to Sanders' concerns about tax cuts and Medicaid, offering a different interpretation of the economic data and policy outcomes. This exchange highlights a broader debate over how to balance taxation, government spending, and social programs. Bessent argues that previous Democratic control of government did not lead to major changes in taxing billionaires, while Sanders emphasizes inequality and the need for stronger safety nets. The discussion also touches on disputed figures related to healthcare coverage and Medicaid participation, with both sides presenting contrasting interpretations of the numbers. These disagreements reflect ongoing national debates about how programs are funded and who benefits from them. Let's dive in.
My understanding is the Trump administration has, I think, 13 billionaires in office right now, leading government agencies. Is that about right, do you think?
I have no idea, Senator.
I think that's what the number is. Do you think it's a coincidence, given the large number of billionaires in the Trump administration, that this particular piece of legislation would provide $235 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2% by expanding the exemptions in the estate tax?
Senator, I will tell you that when the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed, my tax rate went up.
Well, I don't know your exact situation, but I can tell you. Tell me about how many people do you think are in the top 0.2%?
Sorry?
Number of people in the top 0.2% who would benefit from this particular $235 billion tax break.
Well, the top, I know the top 10% is right. now paying 7%.
That's not the question. My question is, why do you think at a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality, when people like yourself economically have never ever had it so good, why do you think it's a good idea to cut Medicaid for low-income and working-class people by $700 billion, to give $235 billion in tax breaks to the very, very, very richest people in this country, perhaps a few hundred families? Please justify that and tell me about that.
Well, Senator, I don't know, but the Democrats had the trifecta, and there was no tax increase or wealth tax on billionaires. You choose.
I'm not talking about a tax.
You chose not to do that.
Mr. Bessent, I am not talking about a wealth tax. Explain. A few hundred of the wealthiest families in this country, $235 billion tax break. Explain to the American people why you think that's a great idea.
I think that this will increase small businesses substantially. That most small businesses, they are...
Has zero to do, come on, you're smarter than that. This is the top 0.2%. This is not a mom and pop store. These are multi-billionaires, and the savings go to their kids after they pass away. This is nothing more than a gift to billionaires in this country.
Well, sir, that's just not correct, because the top 10% paid a bigger share of taxes after TCJA.
I'm talking about one provision in this. I don't want to argue with you about taxes in general. One provision, few hundred families, $235 billion in tax breaks. You can't justify that because morally it is totally unjustifiable. Let me ask you another question. If you guys want to cut $1 trillion in Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, the estimate from CBO, I believe, is that over 15 million people lose their health insurance. Yale University and University of Pennsylvania estimated that when you throw that many low-income and working-class people off of health care, some 50,000 people a year will die. Tell me why you think it's a good idea to give tax breaks to billionaires and allow 50,000 low-income and working-class people to die unnecessarily?
Senator, first of all, that's overstated by 5.1 million. That is not attributed to this bill. It is simply
It's a combination. That's true.
No. You all had a scheduled expiration of Obamacare subsidies, and you did not extend that when you were in charge. 5.1 million, 1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid.
All right, look,
and there are work requirements. And our goal is to get more money to children and mothers.
Really? Your goal is to get more money to children, and working people. Really? Come on.
As the exchange concludes, Scott Bessent presents his case by focusing on economic principles and policy outcomes, while Bernie Sanders continues to stress concerns about inequality and access to health care. Sanders raises alarms about the number of people who could lose insurance coverage under certain policy changes, while Bessent questions how those figures are calculated and whether they reflect temporary policies that were not extended. There is also a debate over estate tax policy. Sanders characterizes reforms as primarily benefiting a small number of wealthy families, while Bessent argues they also impact family-owned businesses and farms. Another key issue discussed is work requirements tied to certain benefits. Supporters argue these policies encourage workforce participation, while critics say they could negatively affect vulnerable populations. The hearing ultimately reflects two fundamentally different economic philosophies. One prioritizes expanded government programs and redistribution to address inequality. The other emphasizes incentives, investment, and economic growth as the path to broader prosperity. Regardless of perspective, the exchange underscores how complex and consequential these policy debates are. What do you think? Which approach makes more sense in today's economy? Let me know your thoughts.